Your doctor said there's no such thing as leaky gut? It happened to me too. I know how frustrated you feel. Welcome to Real World AIP. I'm Stacy, an AIP certified coach and ACE certified health coach and personal trainer. In this installment of my AIP Demystified series, I want to talk about leaky gut, otherwise known as intestinal permeability. Maybe you can send a link of this video to your doctor. A lot of research has been done recently that they need to be aware of. Yes, leaky gut is a layman's term, but someone smart enough to graduate from medical school should understand that what you're referring to is intestinal permeability. And intestinal permeability is real, and is a real trigger for autoimmunity. Actually, a leaky gut or permeable intestine is necessary for autoimmune disease to develop. That's a bold statement, isn't it? This information is direct from medical research scientist Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, the lovely lady that gave me the information I needed to finally feel healthy after 20 years of frustrating doctor visits and chronic unwellness. You don't even have to take her word for it though. There are links below in the description to studies like Enterocytes tight junctions, from molecules to diseases, published in the World Journal of Gastrointestinal Pathophysiology in December 2015. Link in the description. This sounds like blah 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 to you, right? No worries, I'll break it down for you. Enterocytes are the cells, epithelial cells, that make up our gut barrier. They are what divides the inside of our gut from the rest of our body. So our gut barrier consists of a single layer of these cells, which produce a mucus layer, which also helps provide a barrier between what stays inside of our gut and what is released into the rest of our body. These cells are connected to form that barrier, and these connections are called tight junctions. So we got cells, some mucus, and some little, connections. That's the barrier. That's our gut barrier. Now this barrier is semi-permeable. In other words, it's designed to allow nutrients, which are very small molecules, out into the body and to keep in any other larger molecules. There are food particles, bacteria, waste products, and toxins in our gut that need to stay behind that barrier. These things do not belong inside of our bodies, and if they sneak past a compromised gut barrier, they're going to activate our immune system and cause inflammation and food intolerance and things like that. So when one of those cells that lines the gut barrier is not healthy, or when it loses its ability to control tight junction formation and those tight junctions are unraveled and opened up, what we get is increased intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut. And then what happens is incompletely digested food particles or antigens stimulate the immune system, and we can develop allergies and intolerances. Or maybe what will seep through the gut barrier will be some gram-negative bacteria, which are also known as endotoxins, which are even found in very healthy individuals. They're inside of the gut, but when they pass the intestinal barrier and get into the bloodstream, it triggers the immune system into overdrive and causes inflammation. Here's a quote from the article. Clinical and experimental studies suggest that altered intestinal barrier function might play an inciting role in the development of celiac disease by allowing gliadin to cross the intestinal barrier and activate the immune system. In layman's terms, we have proof that when gluten passes through a leaky gut, it activates the immune system and triggers development of an autoimmune disease. This article goes on to say that a similar mechanism has been proposed to contribute to the pathogenesis of diverse autoimmune diseases like atopic dermatitis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and autoimmune hepatitis. My favorite quote, the classical paradigm of autoimmune pathogenesis involving specific gene makeup and exposure to environmental triggers has been recently challenged by the addition of a third element, the loss of intestinal barrier function. In plain English, we used to think autoimmunity developed due to genes and environmental trigger, but now we see there's a third element, the intestinal barrier. Dr. Alessio Fasano, a pioneering researcher in intestinal permeability, explains in an interview with Chris Kresser why leaky gut is sometimes viewed as quack medicine by conventionally trained physicians. There's a link below to that interview in the description. So Dr. Fasano admits that the term was used and abused by the alternative medicine community in the past, and that they had, in a what he calls a visionary fashion, identified leaky gut as a possible cause of many health problems. Many of their statements were not based on factual evidence, and they went to the extreme of developing a whole leaky gut syndrome that didn't have any studies to back it up, and that's why the medical establishment has been so skeptical for so many years. This leaky gut syndrome was a common culprit in alternative medicine even before the discovery of tight junctions and zonulin and the Genome Project and all the things that give us facts and scientific evidence to back up intestinal permeability and how it contributes to autoimmunity. So we had these two viewpoints that saw this topic as either it's quackery or it's a magical cure-all. Now we do have scientific evidence. We have studies and research on tight junctions and how they can be altered. We have clinical evidence that intestinal permeability is associated with autoimmunity. Actually, like I said earlier, having intestinal permeability is a prerequisite to developing developing autoimmune disease. And then the Genome Project came along and gave us more evidence by discovering genes that regulate intestinal permeability and their association with autoimmunity. And then came the discovery of zonulin, a protein which regulates intestinal barrier function and is now used as a biomarker for autoimmunity. So now we have the evidence, but some doctors still view it as it was 20 years ago, without all the scientific proof and conclusive evidence we have now. The bottom line today is that intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut, is a major contributor to autoimmunity and inflammation, and it needs to be addressed and accepted as real. And of course, AIP addresses leaky gut. We'll go over exactly how leaky gut is caused and how AIP can heal it in future videos as part of my AIP Demystified series. If you'd like to see clips from my everyday life, including grocery shopping, meal prep, what I had for dinner, how I lead my AIP lifestyle, you can view those in Lens. It's a part of Patreon, but it's free to the public, and there's a link to that below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. I post every Thursday. I hope to see you soon, and until then, be healthy.